Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for attention. I'm Yang from the University of Oxford, and I'm so glad to attend the Education Crisis Conference 2021. And here, please let me share my screen regarding my speech, regarding my presentation based on my research. I want to put that into the full screen. So here we go. It's about rethinking the role of education in India's rising nationalism towards China. This research is basically to answer two questions. The first is what role does China play in India's building nationalist, currently it's called the Hindu nationalist narratives with an outsider image constructed in India's education. And second is how does this kind of narrative affect the nationalism sentiment and perception of the educated Indians towards China and then influence India's China policy. So why these problems matter is because of a very strong public nationalist sentiment based on what we already see that in last year's China-India border skirmish, we call it the Galvan Valley skirmish. After this kind of skirmish, that there were very large-scale demonstrations and actions taken by the Indian ordinary people to boycott Chinese goods. And even a year after the clash, a survey found that 43% of Indians did not buy any China-made products in the last 12 months. And actually, after the Sino-Indian border war in 1962, the Indian government and people have already developed a kind of like victimhood, and this kind of victimhood caused, a lot of like boycotts or demonstration by the Indian government or by the Indian ordinary people. Every time after China-India war in a conflictual situation. But why does education matter? We know actually textbooks and other kind of educational vectors used for propaganda are useful tools to study the dominant ideologies at play in India, which reflects the narratives of politics. Especially in the post-conflict situation, education cannot be seen simply as an logistical operation since it connects politics. And this kind of long-lasting, we can call it the battle nationalism towards China, may be mobilized and turned into relatively frenzied nationalism when necessary, such as the anti-China demonstration and the boycott of Chinese goods after several India-China border conflicts. So let's focus firstly on China's general image in India's textbook. In India's textbook, in India's political textbook, China was portrayed as located north of the Himalayas and is the world's most populous country with 1/5 of the world population. That's great. I mean, that's about the geographical scope. But what India wants to emphasize here is that historically, China has always benefited from India. Indian civilization gave the Chinese knowledge about mind and spirit, and this is actually a kind of way to show that a sense of pride for the Indian ordinary people that India has already from the cultural, from the spiritual levels influence a lot to China. And also, another very interesting thing is about Tibet, because Tibet and India has a very close connection because of they are neighbors at the time. So, for example, Indian textbook regard Tibet as part of the Indian cultural circle, and they call it the Bhattara Bharata, and they call Tibet Triyestapa, which means a holy place, instead of the Tibet. So this can be shown in the social science textbook of Rajasthan. And regarding the 1962 war of China and India, we can say that from the textbook of the Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Maharashtra, that China occupies large tracts of land in India without permission, invaded India, and put the majority of areas of India into China's map. And they want to build a kind of image that China is like a threat throughout this kind of border disputes, which can be seen from the Rajasthan State Institute of Educational Research and Training textbook. And another thing that actually raised, from the beginning of the India's independence is regarding the Hindu nationalist role. Actually, since the 1950s, Hindu nationalism had already tried to characterize themselves as defenders of the national interest. And the RSS always want to Indianize the education system, especially following Modi's election in 2014. And they want this kind of battles, no matter it's with China or with Pakistan or with some other like kind of enemies, to be highlighted where the soldiers show exemplary courage in the face of extreme odds. And they believe that there are some battles in the war where the troops displayed tremendous courage, which can be shown, regarding the China and India battles. It's about the battles of Razanlar and the battles at Tabang. We can see from the details that they always want to portray a kind of image that Indian soldiers are the heroes that fight till the last man and the last bullet. Like in the Razanlar, that they mentioned that a soldier of India was awarded the Burmese Chakra, which is the highest, gallantry medal due to its very, very great performance in the battle. And in the Tabang War, in the Tabang battle, they also mentioned that a soldier shared similar valor as he held back the Chinese invaders at Banglar even after he and his men had no ammunition left and advanced only with bayonets fixed to their guns. So this, we can see that RSS push for broader education on the 1962 war is that history, they believe that history is a subject that should invoke a sense of pride in India and also a study of the events that we should take lessons from. And this kind of Chinese aggression is one such episode and is likely to be included in historical book. So this is a kind of way to share, to shape India's nationalism and also to share India's sense of, sense of pride, and also a sense of way to fight with external enemies. So we can see that from the Hindu nationalist textbook, they have a map of the Great India, which called the Akhand Bharat or Undivided India, including Tibet of China as a cover, and China rose to religious consciousness and pride of Hindus through the geography and history. They believe that the Indian Ocean is renamed Hindu Mahasagar. The Arabian seas called the Sindhu Sagar, and the new name of the Bay of Bengal is Gangar Sagar. So they are reshaping, or renaming this kind of India's traditional sphere of influence into different kind of names, and share, India is a main player, main actor in this region. So this kind of textbook, the textbook by the Hindu nationalism had already been used throughout more than 20,000 schools, which actually implement the Hindu system of education. And this kind of education, has a very great influence due to its large number of students educated. And also there was even recent very controversial issues regarding that Sanskrit textbook used by several CBSC affiliated schools in the Madhya Pradesh that what famously came to be known as Sino-India War of 1962 was won by India against China. And they believe that during the Nehru's tenure as Prime Minister, China waged war against India in the year of 1962, with efforts of India defeated China. In this kind of way, was actually criticized by India's mainstream media themselves. But we can see the change that in the future, especially in the pandemic or in the post-pandemic period, that this kind of sentiment of a sense of pride by the Indian nationalisms may raise. So we can see that the conclusion is that China play, actually I haven't shown here, but we know that throughout India's shaping that Pakistan play a more important role in Hindu nationalism's narratives when shaping the outsider image, and China only play a relatively limited role in India's education. And we can also say that mainland China and Tibet region's cultural connection with the Asian India is a kind of way to share India's sense of pride regarding China. So actually we can say that the BJP or Hindu nationalist version of Indian history to next generations throughout education is a kind of way to raise a very strong nationalist sentiment and the perception of the educated Indians towards China. And this kind of way may provide India to be more assertive or to initiate a tougher foreign policy regarding China in the post or in the pandemic period. Thank you so much for listening, and this is my presentation. So I'm looking forward to your feedback. Thank you.